Hi, my name is Sterling Libs, and thanks ever so much for being here today. If you haven't met me before, let me introduce myself by saying that, the world we live in can sometimes be overwhelming and challenging. So you'll need to gather the courage and be strong enough to stand up for yourself and be who you want to be and live your life the best way you can without pretending to be someone else or trying to please everybody in order to fit in or be accepted by others. So I spend most of my time inspiring the people I interact with to be true to themselves and to strive to be the best versions of who they are, encouraging them to be strong, bold, confident, and courageous in their lives every day, and to follow their dreams. What I would like to talk to you today in this discourse is about having the courage to ask. The courage to ask for, help or anything really that you want. Perhaps let me begin by asking you this. What is it that you really want in your life? And why don't you have it? And could it be possible that you have not because you ask not? And even if you ask, could it be possible that you ask amiss? You ask the wrong person or you ask the wrong questions? Could that be a possibility? Asking is part and parcel of our human interconnectedness. And you can't get away from it. No one can get away from it. We ask each other for things. We ask people to help us here and there. The politicians, for example, the members of parliament, the prime ministers, the presidents to be, they all ask the electorate to vote for them. A beggar in the street will ask passers-by for some handouts. You and I will ask for things here and there from time to time. It's inevitable that we will ask. There is no self-made person in the world. We get by in life by asking. That is normal. It's the foundation for many, many other things in our lives. And my realization is that asking is really of two forms. We have what we call internal asking, and then what we call external asking. We ask internally of ourselves, a sort of self-introspection, if you may. You ask yourself, sometimes we are not so strong enough to confront ourselves and ask questions about the things we believe, about the way we behave. And sometimes our attitudes, our behavior, our beliefs are the things that are standing on our way to getting the things that we really want. So if you don't gather the courage to sit down and ask yourself that why am I behaving the way I'm behaving? Why am I unable to get this thing or that thing? Why do I believe this thing or that thing? If you don't sit down from time to time to do that, to confront yourself, so to say, because sometimes we are the ones standing in on our own way to getting the things that we want. So asking yourself, sitting down with yourself, confronting yourself, so to say, and ask yourself questions, pertinent questions, questions that open you up. If you don't do that, then sometimes you stand in your own way of progress. There are some beliefs that you might be holding that are holding you back. There are some fears that you have that are sometimes almost baseless, but they are holding you back. So it's important sometimes that you sit down and ask yourself questions and be honest in that exercise and do the appropriate thing that comes up that needs to be done once you've clarified some things with yourself. The other thing you do in asking is ask other people. Ask other people for help. It's actually a realization that you need help. And we all do need help from time to time. So gathering the courage to ask another for something you want or for help is something that some people really find difficult to do. And as such, they end up not advancing in their lives or in their careers or in anything really they want to advance in because they just can't gather the courage to ask for help. And I want to talk to you about that today. But before I do that, every morning in my family, I wake up, I prepare breakfast for my two little children. And each morning when we sit down to have breakfast, we have something we call the breakfast life lessons. And in those lessons, I teach them various things about life. And currently we are talking about the subject of asking. So take a listen to what they had to say or what they have learned in our breakfast life lessons. Okay, kids, what have we been learning in our breakfast life lessons?
So we have been, in our breakfast life lesson, we have been learning about asking and money.
In terms of asking and money, what exactly have we been learning?
So first, for asking, you have to know what you would like before you ask for it. If the person is trying to if the person has something you would like, and you want to go ask them, if they don't have a connection with you have to try and establish one. And if they still refuse to give you what you would like, you go and find someone else. And if the person you are asking does have a connection with you can ask anyways, without trying to establish one. And then you ask for what you want.
So what's your version, Sharon? How do you understand it?
You need to know what you want before you ask, and if the person doesn't want to give you what you ask, you can just go ask someone else, and you need to know what you want before you ask, and you need to have a connection with the person you want to ask, and then you ask.
Oh, so you take those parts. Number one, you first of all need to know what you want. Secondly, you need to actually sort of have a connection with the person you want to ask for that thing. And if you don't have a connection, what do? You try to establish that connection. And then obviously you take the next step and you do what? You ask for it. Alright, okay. So there you have it. That is Zachariah and Sharon. Zachariah is 9 years old and Sharon is 7 years old. So my idea of teaching them this very important subject of asking, because I know that eventually in life they will have to face up to this fact that they have to ask for help here and there. Even at home nowadays, they ask around. I teach them that, when you go to mommy to ask for this thing, mommy says sometimes, No. And maybe you go ask your elder brother or sister, they have elder siblings, or you come and ask daddy about this kind of thing. So, but first of all, you need to know what you want before you ask. And also, you're able to do so easily because you have a connection with dad, with mom, with your elder siblings. And you go ahead and ask. Sometimes daddy won't give you what you're asking for, but doesn't mean daddy doesn't love you. Maybe I just don't have it, or I don't think it's the right thing for you right now. And you don't have to be mad about it. You don't have to be angry about it. So these are the lessons I'm teaching them, things that happen generally in life, and also about money. So we talk about money as well, and I think it's important for them to learn about money at this early stage in their life as well. So it might not be something so profound for them now to get, but eventually as they grow, just like I'm recalling now the things that I learned when I was a little boy. They didn't make a lot of sense then, but now as a grown up, as a father, as a businessman, they really now make a lot of sense. So I'm trying to plant seeds to them, and there are various things we learn every so often that I teach them every morning. Anyway, that aside, let's come back to our subject of asking. So many people find it difficult to ask, and the reasons why many people find it really hard to ask sometimes are, for me, I found out there are three reasons. The first of those reasons is fear, and the second one is ignorance, and the third one is disappointments. So let's start off with fear. And in here, there are two basic sort of fears that people are confronted with when it comes to asking for help. Sometimes even just the fears within themselves. They can't bear to sit down with themselves and ask themselves questions because they're afraid of what they will find out about themselves. And that can really hold you back. So do not let fear really hold you back. So the first fear is the fear of skeletons being exposed. We have all made mistakes in life. There's no one who hasn't made mistakes. But for some of us, because of these mistakes, and some of these are known to you or are known to a certain group of people, so there will come a time when you need to ask for help somewhere. But then this fear that, if I go and ask for help in this area, they might dig deeper and actually uncover some of these things that, not many people know. Those are the things we call skeletons in your closet. And because of that, person just decides not to go ahead and ask for help, and thus jeopardizing their progress in life. The truth of the matter is that we all have made mistakes, and all of us have the so-called skeletons in our closets. So to allow or to let that stop you from making progress in your life, well, you decide. Is that worth it? True, some people will just not even want to listen to you because of the skeletons you have in your closet once they discover. But not all people are like that. There will be someone somewhere out there who will be willing to help you despite the skeletons in your closet. So if you fall into this category, please, if you need help, go out and ask for it. Don't suffer in silence. The second form of fear is the fear of rejection. And this one is a very big one. We inherently, we all love to be liked and accepted. So if there is any slight chance that you'll be rejected when you go and ask for help, many people would rather not go and ask for help. But the truth of the matter is that not everyone will like you in this world. It would actually be strange if everyone loved you and liked you in the world. That would really, really be strange. So get used to the fact that some people will not like you for whatever reason, even for no reason at all. They'll not like you. Should that bother you, that someone doesn't like you? I suppose it depends, but you can't live your life trying to please everybody or trying to fit in all the time. That in itself will stress you out big time. So the truth is, not everyone will like you. And rejection is part and parcel of life. Sometimes it's not personal that someone will reject you. Other times it might be personal, but hey, your life has to go on regardless of the many rejections that you'll get. So for this reason, some people won't even venture to sort of apply for a job because they believe that they will be rejected. A young man sees a wonderful lady he's interested in, but he can't take the step to go and say, hey, hello, because he fears to be rejected. There's something you really, really like. You want to go for it, but you can't because you fear to be rejected. You want to make a progress. Maybe you want perhaps a promotion at work, but you're so afraid that you might be rejected or even fired that you don't even go and ask for that promotion. The fear of rejection is real. It's there. You just have to get used to it and move on with your life anyway. Many people who are successful nowadays faced lots and lots of rejection along the way, but they carried on anyhow and made a success of themselves. So the fear of rejection should not hold you back either. Just recognize the fact that there is rejection out there. You will be rejected. You'll not be unanimously accepted by everyone in the world, and that's okay. Your life has to move on and go on nonetheless. There are some people who will take you for who you are, who will just say, you know what, yeah, let's do this. So you will find those people if you don't despair, but carry on with what you have, being focused, knowing exactly what you want, and then going after it. There'll be rejections along the way, but you stand steadfast and keep going. So that's the first thing why many people do not ask. Fear. Number one reason. Fear of the skeletons in their closets, and then the fear of rejection. The second reason why people find it hard or difficult to ask is ignorance. Think about it. If you don't know who to ask for help, or you don't know what kind of help is available, you're stuck. There's nothing you can do. It's just lack of knowledge. I think it's in the scriptures. I believe, yes, it is in the scripture that says that my people, God is talking to his people, and say, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So sometimes we are stuck because we don't know where to ask for help from and who to ask help from. And the main reason why this being stuck is there is because you have not built connections in your life. You're mostly a loner. You're a one-man band or a one-woman band. Your network is very, very narrow, shallow, or even non-existent. So the solution to this predicament of not knowing who to ask or where to ask for help from is to generally wise up. Yeah. Get out of your own little world and embrace the bigger world out there. Get to know the people, the decision makers in your community, where you live, in your church, in your workplace. Get to know people, connect with them. And the time to connect with people is not when you need help immediately or tomorrow. The time to connect and build those relationships is way before you get to ask for help. When you try to build a connection now and then ask tomorrow, that's very suspicious. People will somehow say, is this why you want this connection? So it's important that in life you build connections, and that's why in the previous video you saw me with my two children, talking to them, saying, you know what, you need to build connections in your life. And I tell them now that when you're in school, try to make friends, build connections. You know what a connection does? A connection is like a bridge. It facilitates the flow of what you want from the other party to you and from you to the other party. And a bridge is supposed to work both ways. It's what we call being mutually beneficial. You don't establish connections so that you be the taker and not a giver. I will talk about connections in depth and relationships in my later discourse on this very important subject of relationships as well. So if you keep coming back here, you'll hear about that. I think it's very important, this area of relationships. And many times we don't make progress and breakthroughs in our lives because our relationships and networks are very weak, or they are non-existent, or, you know, that's where the problem lies. So sometimes we are stuck. We can't ask because we don't know where help is, where we can get the help from, or who has the help that we need. So it's important that you build connections, build networks, read widely, get information, learn deeply. Don't just sit in your little world. Go to the wider world. Expand your area of knowledge, and that will expand your area of possibilities and also enhance your understanding of the world around you. And connect with people, build connection. Don't build walls, build bridges. You see, so build bridges and not walls around you. It's important. When you build these bridges, these connections, now you don't know when you'll need them. So it's important that you do that. So in order to not be a victim of your own ignorance, you need to learn, you need to grow and expand. You know, in the courts of law, I somehow now understand why they say ignorance is not defense. That's why they say what they say in the courts of law. For you, some of you are there who are in that profession. Isn't that true? Ignorance is not defense. You can't say, I didn't know. Find out, learn, grow. That's a possibility. Those are things that you need to be doing every day in your life. Okay, so we have looked at reason number one, fear. Reason number two, ignorance, which you can sort out now. And the third reason why many people find it difficult to ask is disappointments. It happens. Time after time, you ask, rejected, disappointed. Ask, rejected, disappointed. And some people have done that. They have experienced a lot of trauma because of their rejections, a lot of disappointments they have experienced in their lives. And they just say, hang on, what the heck? I'm not going to be bothered about this. They just resign, just resign their aspirations, they resign their life and say, whatever. But seriously, let me ask you this. If you know how important this goal or this thing you're striving to achieve is, will you just give up on yourself? Will you give up maybe on your loved one, on your child, or whatever it is really that's important to you? Because you've faced many disappointments in life, will you? I think if you're being true to yourself, your answer will be an emphatic no, and rightly so. You can't afford to give up. You can't afford to sort of give in and say, you know what, I raise my hands. I give in to all these disappointments and say, you know what, I can't do anything anymore. No. You can't give up. You shouldn't give up. You mustn't give up. If something is that important to you, however many rejections or failures you encounter along the way, you keep on keeping on. You will have a breakthrough. Nothing comes to stay permanently. Even the failures and rejections, they're not there to stay permanently. You will eventually have a breakthrough. And it will be a sweet one to enjoy eventually when it happens. So don't give up. Don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on your aspirations. Now, that is just the reasons why some people do not really ask and venture to ask. But asking for time immemorial is more of an art. And like an art, you need to learn how to ask and be successful in asking. Otherwise, you'll not attain, you'll not get the things that you're really after. So, what are some of the smart ways you can go about asking, or what are the key things that you need to have it or bear in mind when you go into this business of asking? Because first of all, as you may well know, you can't help it. You can't help asking. It's part and parcel of who we are as interconnected and interdependent beings. So, number one, you need to know exactly what you want before you go about asking for it. Because the person you might be asking for the thing will have follow-up questions. And if you fumble about, they might not be that inclined to give you that thing that you want. So know exactly what you want, why you want it, when you want it, and so on and so forth. So that is what you need to do. Know what you want. But before that, the most important thing, what I would call the number one thing you need to do, is to be building connections in your life. Be building connections in your life every day. Build connections which are bridges. You never know when you'll need to use one of these bridges in the near future. So build connections, know exactly what you want in your life, and then go and ask the right person. You just can't go about asking anyone, anywhere for help. It won't make sense. If you want to ask for justice, you don't go to a teacher. You go to the lawyer, or you go to the judge to ask for justice. If you're going to ask for a job, you know where to go and ask for a job from. You don't go somewhere else. It's basic, but I just want to make a point that you need to ask the right people, the people with the wherewithal to help you. That's the best way of asking. And you ask the right person. But the most important thing in asking is giving. You have to give more often than not before you can receive what you're asking for. And I'm not talking about bribes here, no. You know these bridges you're building, those bridges or connections you're building, those are where things travel to and from the other party. And when you are giving, or when you ask to be given something, you give first. In fact, most of your asking will be in vain if you don't give. And like I said, I'm not talking about bribery here. Let me give a very simple example. You'll have to give maybe your time. You might have to give money as well. And I'm not saying you're going to bribe someone by giving them money. What I mean by this is that, for example, if you're going to ask for a job, you might have to give out money by going to train yourself, pay someone else to train you to get the competence and experience that you need. That's giving out money. Then with this acquired knowledge now, you go and ask for a job. Then you get that job. You see? So giving is very, very essential. Another example would be like, there's someone so influential that you want, that you'd like to help you endorse something that you're doing. You know, many important people, many famous people nowadays, if you just approach them and say, hey, could you help me? You're very famous. Help me do this. I'm sure 9 out of 10 times, or even 10 out of 10 times, they will say, hang on, I'm very busy. But you know, like I said, everyone has needs. Even these very famous and rich people, if you want to call them that, they have needs. If you find out what their needs are, and you find a way of trying to meet it, sometimes it might be a very simple need. You might know somebody who this famous person wants to connect with. And if you just help make that connection possible, that is you giving into this relationship. And once that happens, it creates something called what we call a psychic debt in this other person. They will be thinking of how they can repay you. And then tomorrow when you ask, not literally tomorrow, but later on when you ask, they will be more inclined to help you than when you just went straight to them without having contributed to their life in any way or form. So building connections and giving are very, very critical in being successful as far as asking is concerned. So there you have it. Yeah. So you need to build connections. Know exactly what you want. Ask the right person who has the wherewithal to help you. And lastly, persist. This is where many people end and fail to get what they want because they just give up. At this point, let me bring a story that Jesus Christ once said. He said the story of the widow and the judge. This widow went to this judge and wanted to be avenged of her adversary. The judge didn't care less who her adversary was or even to help her. But she persisted. She kept on knocking. She kept on asking for justice. And the Bible says that even though this judge had no regard for God or whatever, this woman or anything like that, but because of her importunity, her persistence, he just gave in and helped her. There's a lot we can learn from that story. Number one, this widow knew exactly what she wanted. Number two, she went to the right person. She went to the judge. She did not go to the doctor. She did not go to any teacher. She did not go to the businessman. She did not go to the banker. She went to the judge, the person who had the wherewithal to help her, the judge who would give her justice from her adversary. And then she persisted until she got it, what she wanted. So we can take and learn a lot from this widow in our own lives, in the things we desire most to have as well, and go on to get them. So, there we have it. Thanks ever so much for taking the time to listen to me today, and I hope this was useful to you. Join me again next time for another discourse right here about this kind of things, what I would call with my kids life lessons, to help you be strong, to be bold, to be confident and courageous in your life, living your life the best way you can. So thank you ever so much for taking your time to be with me here today. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye-bye for now.